Hey guys, it's Care. I am so excited to be here today to do this live with you. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to wait for a couple people to hop on. And while I'm doing that, I just want to take the time to acknowledge all the replayers that will be watching this video. So I'm super excited because I have a special guest with me today, and we're going to be hashing out what do you do when testing is not enough. So Sarah has been a marketing intern, and she's been interning with me for about 6 months now. And when Sarah came to me, she didn't suspect that any of her symptoms were actually related to food at all. And as we've been working together, and she's been learning about just inflammation and your gut and symptoms and all those crazy things that, I talk about, she's like, holy cow, I think that my symptoms are related to food. So I'm just going to let her hop in real quick and share a little bit of her story, and then we're going to hash out, what do you do when testing is just not enough?
Testing isn't enough all the time, especially as I can attest to from my experience. I guess my symptoms really started when I was in high school, and I had severe stomach pain, I had headaches, I was tired all the time, and my acne was out of control. Usually that acne part is expected for teenagers, but it was to the point where it was painful, and I have been on more acne treatments than I can count. And really what struck me was working with Carrie, because she talked about how food can affect your gut, and how your gut is the central part of your body that is linked to everything else. So your symptoms are really linked to your gut. And I ended up getting tested for lactose and gluten because I tried to identify what kinds of foods were affecting my body. And it turns out I have an intolerance to both. I guess my frustrating thing was I had to push for those tests, and when I did get the test, just getting the test is not enough. I needed to start looking at labels of what I was eating and grocery shop differently. I was talking to Carrie about how I love eating salads, but I can't eat a lot of salad dressing now. So it's been really changing the way I eat vegetables.
Yeah. So Sarah, when you went to get testing, was the testing more recent?
It was more recent. It was actually after I had some other health issues.
And what are the two things that you got tested?
I was lactose intolerance and gluten intolerance.
Okay. And one thing that Sarah had mentioned to me in the past is that when she went to her doctor, this wasn't something that was really encouraged by them to test for. She had thought about asking for these different tests because of what we had worked on or talked about in the past. And another thing that really that I wanted to bring to attention here is that Sarah's not the only person who comes to me kind of with these different types of questions. So a lot of times what happens is I'll have clients that one will have every single test underneath the sun, and they'll still have a bunch of symptoms. Two, they may have not had any testing at all, and they have these symptoms, and they're just bouncing from medication to medication, or there's this invasive procedure that they have to do, and they have no idea that symptoms are even related to what they're eating every day. And another thing is that when we think about testing and why testing is not enough, it really is because there's a lot of different tests that are out there. And everybody is really, really individualized. So it's not really a cookie cutter approach. And I think nowadays, we've learned more about celiac disease, right? And gluten sensitivity and dairy, and how you can be sensitive or reactive or intolerant to those different types of foods and can have an allergy. And so I think what makes it really complex is that that everybody is really individualized. Everybody is different. And someone could get a test done, but not necessarily see a ton of relief, right? So even though you might go and get tested for celiac and it could be positive, actually research is showing that only 11% of those that are being tested are even having, seeing actual improvement.
Right.
there's this gap, and so a lot of times when I'm talking with clients, I don't want them to think that if they just get a test done that all of their symptoms will go away and everything's going to be better. You know, it really is about a journey, and there's different components. It could be that you need additional testing. It could be that you it's how you eliminate foods from your diet. Like you were saying, your biggest struggle was identifying these foods now. Where are they sneaking in?
Yeah, I guess one of my biggest examples coming up is Thanksgiving. When I think of Thanksgiving, I think of comfort food and all these wonderful things that my mom makes. But it's been hard because I'm realizing that I can't eat them anymore. You know, I can't eat stuffing. I can't eat certain pies. I can't eat the things that are just presented to me anymore. I need to be very selective. I've had to explain to my mom that no, I just can't cheat and, you know, have these things because then I'll feel really sick. So that's been something that's been really a change. And, you know, you need support. You can't just do it on your own. I'm lucky enough to have the support of, you know, my friends and my roommates and my parents, because they recognize how much I have struggled with food, because they've seen me be sick before.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, Sarah, is that you really, when it's more about why it's more about the testing is because you have to actually strategically eliminate foods from your diet. And then you have to, you know, it's just not about the foods that you're eliminating, it's really about the foods that you're putting in. So a lot of people they get this anxiety and they get worried that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to eat all of my favorite comfort foods, or I'm not going to be able to eat that food again, and they just want to know, like, what do you cut out? And one of my approaches is I really like to focus on what you put into your diet. And it actually takes 3 to 6 months to calm your immune system. So if you are reactive to something, it can, you know, and it's not a severe allergy, and it's just a food sensitivity, and it's not an intolerance, that you can actually put that food back in. But it has to be done strategically, and you have to know if that food is causing symptoms. And another thing is that it's not just foods, it could be chemicals. And so how you're strategically eliminating those things from your diet and how you're strategically putting them in is super important. So that's one really big thing. And the other thing is focusing on identifying, like, nutrient deficiencies, for example. So when we're thinking about inflammation, and that's really what's driving your symptoms, right? That's why the acne is there. That's why the digestive issues are there. There's this form of inflammation, and your body is attacking this invader, and a lot of times that ends up being the food, right? And so the whole point of it is it takes, like I said, that 3 to 6 months to calm your immune system. So once you get that invader out and you identify it, then what happens is your immune system calms down a little. But there's other pieces to the puzzle too. So you can't just identify it with a test, right? You have to actually put in nutrients. You have to do different things to heal your gut. And there could even be components where some of these symptoms, like I said, are being driven by genetic variations in your DNA. And so that's how you're different than, like, how I am and how things are affecting you versus me.
Yeah. I know that's been a big thing too. You know, we talk about everybody being different, and I guess I didn't really realize it until I started talking through my symptoms with you. Mostly just because, you know, when you look online and you're like, oh, I want to go look for testing, I want to see what's going on, people think that they can do it on their own and just say, oh, I've got all these symptoms, I've had the test, this is what I have. But, you know, there's no cookie cutter approach. Like, you can have certain symptoms, but you can not have certain symptoms. And that's just something you need to realize through this journey. And I think it's been very helpful for you to tell me that testing does not identify inflammation. It identifies some issues that you're having, but it's not going to tell you how to get to where you need to be. It's like a roadmap, but it won't tell you, like, it won't
all the answers.
It won't tell you all the answers.
Yeah. It's like just one component, one piece. And it's a very, very important piece, you know? And like I said, what you may need is different than what another person may need. And a lot of times that's really hard to foresee. So a lot of times people will share their story with me, and they might say, I just want to know what tests I need. And it's very hard for me to understand that sometimes, because I need to dive in and see, like, well, what are you eating every day? Like, when are your symptoms occurring? And like, when you're working with someone who is an expert in this area, who has been doing that for 7 years, who has studied, in this area and specialized in this area, you can start to see patterns that emerge. And you can see patterns that emerge across the board with a lot of clients. So it does help get a better system in place and guide in place. But still, it comes down to that, you have to get in, and what you eat every day is completely different than what I eat, and what you're deficient in is different than what I'm could potentially be deficient in. And your immune system is incredibly unique and so much different than mine. So, there's this platform that we can create and that we can make. However, we still have to tailor that really specifically to you.
Mm-hmm. But you do that with your program, and you've got more coming out as time goes on.
Yeah. So right now, I do a program where I do advanced testing, and we identify different things that people need, the type of testing that they need, and then we actually dive in and do that meal planning. So we identify the things that you're reactive to. We identify what foods that you need to eliminate from your diet. And then when you get all that fear and that worry about what you're going to get taken away from you and you can never eat, I want to calm that. And so we focus on actually creating meals that are specific to the foods you're not reactive to, and helping you have a plan, helping you have a goal. And what do you do when you get to the grocery store and you have no idea what to make? Making sure you have shopping lists.
It's pretty overwhelming, I have to say. So you've been helpful just with, honestly, just giving me information. I think that's what a lot of people need is, to know that there's resources out there, that there's this information out there. And it's great that, you're doing these lives and helping people realize that. Because like I said, I didn't know. I'm sure not a lot of people know either.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, when people do find out, they're on this search. They're searching for something to help them, because they're like, I can't pinpoint, but I think it's related to food. Yeah. And so they'll be like, well, I'm going to try gluten-free, and I'm going to try dairy-free, and I'm going to try FODMAPs, and I'm going to try paleo, and I'm going to try Atkins and Weight Watchers, and all these different types of things. And a lot of times that can just set them down this wild goose chase and set them up for failure, or they could get sabotaged. And then there's all these feelings of fear and guilt. And I think that if you have this plan in place where you have somewhere to start, and where you're going to finish, and you have that help, there's hope. And I hear that a lot, when I meet with people, as wow, I didn't know there was hope, and I didn't even know that this world existed, because it's a different approach. It's looking at it not like calories in, calories out, let's just exercise more. It's no, your weight could actually be contributing to hormonal imbalances, and we've done lives in the past on that. And then not only hormonal imbalances, but is your body holding on to weight because of the inflammation and foods that you're reactive to? Or are you having specific deficiencies? And so it's all ends up tying together. And so it's just you can't go into, one appointment and get all the answers.
Right.
It's this journey, and it takes time for your body to heal. And so, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of different programs that are coming out that I'm offering, even more that are trying to get as tailored as I can from a group perspective, and just out there to empower people that there is hope, there's things that you can do to drive down the inflammation, to heal your body, and that you don't have to live with these aggravating symptoms. And I had symptoms, and if I'm not careful and I go out to a restaurant and I'm not familiar with the food, there's things that sneak in, and I have symptoms the next day. And so I feel like you do have to be diligent. You do have to have tools in your toolbox to pull out so that you can be successful. And I think that it's always really overwhelming at the beginning, because it's everything that you want, all your comfort foods.
You're breaking into this whole new world.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, like, your diet kind of has to go a little topsy-turvy because everything you thought, is good for you that you're eating may not be good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And earlier, you were talking about the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the hardest time. It really is. Because what happens is there's all these parties, and so you get off more of like your typical schedule, and your symptoms can skyrocket. And a lot of times, a lot of the reactive foods end up sneaking in a lot of those party foods or different things. But what it doesn't, like, the holidays don't have to be a dreadful time. Like, for you, now that you know this, like, you don't have to go to that party and worry about, like, not being able to eat your mom's, like, the things that you were saying that your mom cooked.
Yeah,
that you
I already
love.
got a gluten-free, dairy-free pumpkin pie recipe for Thanksgiving just because, I reached out to people and I was like, hey, like, do you have anything for me? Like, have you tried things? I think that's been difficult is getting the recipes, too, because, there's a ton of recipes out there, but not a lot of them are that great.
Yeah.
So, you want to find food that's not just satisfying, but, it's good for you, too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm really excited that you mentioned that because that is what a lot of people, I hear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So people say, I want to have a testing, and then they're like, well, what do I eat?
Yeah.
And so I feel like that is what's really evolved, like, just my career as a dietitian is, like, just helping to and listening to people and knowing that that's the problem, right? They don't know what to eat. They say can't have this, so what they're going to eat is just going to taste like crap, and they're going to starve, and then they don't stick to the plan. So I've really dedicated my practice to just focusing on making it fun. Like making allergies, sensitivities, and tolerances that are related to autoimmune and inflammatory conditions fun. You can still go off and have, like, this fun, adventurous life. You don't have to be bogged down by your symptoms anymore. And I'm super excited for the programs that are really going to be launching soon because there are going to be a ton of recipes out there, even recipes around the holidays, so that when you go to a party, you can be the talk of the party.
And you can have something too.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I had to remake a lot of, I come from an Italian background, so, we make our own pasta sauces, we make salad dressings, like, everything from scratch. And I finally figured out how to make this really good Alfredo sauce. Like, finally. But, it's all trial and error, and it's really helpful to have someone do that for you instead of figure it out on your own, which is, I think, the benefit of being in your program.
Mm-hmm. So the last few months I've been working with the chef to make sure that the recipes in this program are not just, nutrient dense and falling in with what I would call really healthy, but they're also yummy too. So what I'm going to ask is to get your secret recipe so that we can throw it in there too and put it as a fun meal. But I think that's the kind of point is that why it's more than just a test. Like, you really want, you want this to be a journey. Like, if you just go into it thinking, I just want to test, then I don't think you're going to really see results. I don't think you're going to see the results that you want to see. I don't think your symptoms are going to be eliminated because you actually have to do the work.
Yeah.
Like, a test is another way of, like, a quick fix sometimes. And so you have to be able to interpret those tests and just really understand that how this is something that can be complex, but it doesn't have to be dreadful. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Like, you can strategically figure these things out, and there's hope in that, you don't have to live with those symptoms forever. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up.
No, I guess just, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
And tell my story. So.
I'm super excited that you were able to tell your story, and it's just really interesting. All 3 of my interns that I've had this last year didn't realize they had any of these symptoms until we started working together. So it's just, it's kind of weird how like that happens, that power of food. So I just wanted to acknowledge again, everybody's been on the live. Thank you for your comments, for your feedback. You know, I'm super excited to be here and to just experience this with you guys and help educate you and inspire you. And if there's something that you want to learn on one of these Facebook Lives that you want me to talk about, please put in the comments any questions that you had. Please tell me if there's anything that you want me to talk about. We're going to be doing these more consistently, so I'd love to be able to meet your needs. And let's see, give me lots of hearts if you really resonated within anything that I shared or that Sarah shared. Please put some hearts down. Please comment. Please like, share it with your friends and family, and we'll be back. So I'm super excited that I had this time with you. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.